I just want to make it clear, I so appreciate what you're talking about with respect to small business. Oregon is overwhelmingly a small business state. You can almost count our larger businesses on both hands. I mean, we really have a small number of larger businesses, so many of the small businesses. And in the last few days, I've been struck how many people are just coming up to me and saying, we really want to see this employee retention tax credit, because they like the fact that this is a kind of win-win kind of arrangement that creates an incentive for people to pitch in, work together at a very challenging time. So I want you to know I'm all in with you. We've talked about this often, and your leadership is much appreciated. Okay. Let's see, Senator Cassidy.
Hey,
and then, Senator Cassidy, because we're going to be going back and forth, I think then after Senator Cassidy will be Senator Casey, who's online, and we're just going to do our best to keep this going. Senator Cassidy.
Hey, sir, thank you for being here. Last week, the IRS and Treasury announced a proposal to fix the so-called family glitch in Obamacare. Now, the IRS has looked at this in the past and, in fact, finalized a rule in 2013 that determined that whether an employer's offer of coverage is, quote, affordable is determined based only on the employee only rather than family coverage. Now, the law has not changed. But why is the IRS suddenly interpreting a law differently? Frankly, it seems more as if this is what we wish the law to read, as opposed to this is what the law was interpreted as being in 2013. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I can't speak to that. My guess is that came from Treasury more so than IRS. Treasury does policy, IRS does administration. But if you submit a question for the record, but also I will get back to you on that. I don't have that information.
So let me ask. I find that almost kind of, whoa, because there's an article in Health Affairs which goes through all the considerations that IRS gave in 2013. This was clearly an IRS decision. So what I think I'm hearing from you is that Treasury has gone this way without consulting IRS?
I can't confirm that it's Treasury. I don't have the personal knowledge. I will confirm what the thinking was and who did the thinking, whether it was us and or Treasury. But know that Treasury is usually significantly involved, and they are the jurisdiction, if you will, for tax policy issues. So if there's been a shift in policy, Treasury would have been involved. I'll have to get back to you. I just don't have the personal knowledge.
I'm just a little dumbfounded because I would have thought that this would have risen to your level since this is such a significant reversal of previous IRS decisions. Okay. Let me ask about something which is near and dear, unfortunately, to my heart, disaster retirement legislation with penalty-free withdrawals. My state has been disproportionately affected by natural disasters. I could give you a list, but I think they're probably very familiar with them. Now, one thing Congress has done in the past to help disaster victims is to allow penalty-free withdrawals from qualifying retirement plans. And so, since many Americans, big chunk of savings in these plans, can we help them with penalty-free? Now, we typically enact this relief along with enhanced casualty loss deductions and other measures. But despite recent disasters in Louisiana, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, and other states, to date, Americans have not received tax relief for disasters in 2021, which I don't think there's a policy concern, but a timing issue. Now, Commissioner, we have a bill 2583 with Senators Menendez and Representatives Thompson and Kelly that would make penalty-free withdrawals from retirement accounts automatically after the President issues a disaster declaration. I'm hoping to get this included in retirement legislation that may move through this committee. As a commissioner, given you the certainty as to the implementation of this policy and as regards timing, do you think that would be a good way to go?
Absolutely.
Sounds great. And just to echo that, the tax advocate Aaron Collins talked on February 17th how these last-minute tax law changes present challenges for IRS and for tax software companies. So again, your last statement, I think you would agree with this, but should we have permanent legislation, is permanent legislation generally preferable from a tax administration standpoint?
We are currently programming for filing season 23. We're in 22, so we begin preparation that far out. we got caught here with respect to the March legislation on unemployment compensation being excluded for 10,200 and a variety of other provisions that we did not have the ability to automate our systems. And as a result, it led to more than 20 million returns being pushed into a manual processing. So
That's 20 million returns into a manual process.
correct. And then that led to inventories. It led to delays in refunds and the rest. There's a connection between all of this. And I'm not saying it started there. That was one of the issues. But we had more than 20 million. We had 11.2 million return recovery rebate reconciliations. The earned income tax credit ability to use 2019 instead of 2020. We could not automate that. And the unemployment compensation, we could not automate that.
So many of the questions here, or many of the comments, thank the IRS employees for their hard work, and thank you, and express concern about staffing and express concern about backlogs. What I just heard from you is that if we made permanent this legislation that almost always passes when there's a disaster, we would do something positive for the employees, positive for productivity, and positive for backlogs.
And we would implement automatically. There are other provisions that key off of a national emergency declaration. We don't need to consult anybody. We implement immediately. Delaying and filing a tax return, for example.
Sounds great. So, Mr. Chairman, just for the record, I think we have a solution that Congress always passes, but if we made permanent, would help the IRS tremendously and in turn help other taxpayers as regards any backlogs that may occur. So if, knowing that all states, and this is a Menendez-Cassidy bill, just to put that in your kind of front of brain as maybe something we could include in future legislation.
We'll have the staff follow up with you on that, Senator Cassidy, and I noted that you and Senator Menendez had teamed up, and we need that kind of